On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
I stand before you with a heavy heart to speak about a tragedy unfolding in the shadows of the complex Syrian landscape. A vicious, violent, malicious campaign targeting the Druze community in Sweida, Syria.
That's what it sounded like a few days ago outside Toronto's City Hall when over a dozen members of Canada's Druze community stood and gave a media conference while holding their five-colored Druze flags. They want to call attention to the killings of nearly 1,000 people in the Druze majority province of Sweida in southern Syria 3 weeks ago. Beginning on July 11th as a clash between local Bedouin clans and Druze militias in the area, it escalated after the Syrian government sent in its own troops. Druze leaders now accuse those soldiers of carrying out ethnic cleansing and blame the new interim government led by Ahmad al-Shara, a former al-Qaeda insurgent turned Syrian rebel. Meanwhile, Syria's leaders have called for an investigation into the massacres. For those unfamiliar, the Druze are a small Middle Eastern religious sect. They're Arabs, but not Muslim. Their people broke away from Islam in the 10th century. Most live in Syria and were loyal initially to the Assad regime, but have wanted autonomy in their southern province in whatever political system the new Syria takes. About 25,000 Druze live in Canada, and they've been watching horrific images coming out of the region showing uniformed troops forcibly shaving the mustaches off Druze elders, a form of humiliation which Jews understand better than most. Even some local Christian villages were attacked. Sweida is just 4.5 hours east of northern Israel by car and the Golan Heights. And you'll recall Israel's government decided to intervene in Sweida by sending warplanes July 16th to bomb Syrian military positions and to get the government troops to back off, even though many Syrian Druze aren't exactly fans of Israel. But as they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. For Israel, observers say it was a show of loyalty to their large Druze population. Many Israeli Druze are citizens, many serve in the IDF, and many have relatives across the border in Sweida. Although there is a ceasefire in place now, reports coming out of the area describe shortages of food and medical supplies, looting, and unreliable electricity.
We are not interested in causing harm to anybody, but it is very unfair for anyone to watch the killing against our own people and nobody is doing anything.
I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. Welcome to North Star, a podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, made possible thanks to the support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. The political situation in Syria is complicated. Canada broke diplomatic ties in 2012, but has been warming up since Ahmad al-Shara, the former al-Qaeda rebel and Sunni Muslim, declared himself president in January 2025. He's discarded his traditional garb for Western clothes, he's shaken hands with Donald Trump, and pledged to hold elections in September to unify the country and to protect all minorities. But the Sweida attacks against Druze and other ethnic groups have Canadian Druze skeptical of his intentions. They want the international community to respond, to bring diplomatic pressure to end an ongoing economic siege and to let food and medical supplies in, a humanitarian corridor opened for Druze civilians to leave the area. It's been a struggle for local Druze Canadians to get much traction for their people's plight. In fact, their press conference last Friday attracted just 2 journalists, and the CJN's was one of them. On today's show, we're joined by 2 Druze Canadians whose families in Syria have been directly impacted. Hend Rad lives in Barrie, Ontario, where she works in the furniture business. Jamil Amar came in 2017. He's a lawyer, lives in Niagara Falls, and works as a professor at several Ontario colleges.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ale.
Each of you, Jamal, would you kindly sort of share a little bit of your story about your journey to Canada? How many years have you been here, and who's home for you back in Syria?
Sure. So my name is Jamil Ammar. Originally from Syria, I live in a village called Mughra al-Mir in the Harman Mountain. It's straight on the border between Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. We are very close to the Golan High. So in 2013, Al-Nusra Front invaded our area. My village was whipped out of the earth. So we have to evacuate. And then my family went to Sweida and I left the country entirely. I went to UK. I did some work at Edinburgh Law School. And from there, I went to the United States. I did 2 years at Rutgers Law School. And from there, I came to Canada. Currently, most of my family members still live in Syria and Sweida.
And now tell me your story.
So back in 2015, me and my husband got married. And unfortunately, back then, the Assad regime had forced military service on all men on a certain age. And my husband did not want to join absolutely that war. He didn't want to kill any other Syrians or to participate in any part of violence. So on 2015, we had to run away to Lebanon. So he went before me. He guaranteed that like the way is safe, and he was trying to find a place to sit together. And then I followed him like in 4 or 5 days. And then we stayed in Lebanon for around a year, less than a year. And we were able to come to Canada later, sponsored by my uncle here. And once we got to Canada on 2016, we started a new life. We lived with my uncle for a few months, and then we moved to Scarborough. We found jobs, and we started to build our life from scratch. And now we have a house in Barrie, and we have 2 beautiful kids.
So you were mentioning military service. Jamil, did you serve?
Well, I did my PhD in Scotland, the UK. I came back in late 2010. I was arrested in the airport. As all male Syrian, we have to go to the military service. I went to the army. The revolution started a few months after I was enforced to serve in the army. And I stuck there from 2011 until 2030. So yes, I did.
Right. Okay. So I was just curious because I know in the Israeli Druze community, everybody serves.
Yeah,
And it's mandatory also for Syrians, which
Yes.
I wasn't
it is.
aware of.
Yes.
Mhm. I know you've spoken about how this impacted your relatives, and I'm so sorry. Do you want to share with our audience some of the names and the situation of your family? Would you like to do that?
Absolutely, yeah. So we do have almost 10 of my husband's cousins in his own village called Al-Mazra'ah that was burnt completely by the Syrian government, and this is all recorded. There's 10 of my husband's cousins and relatives who have been slaughtered or killed brutally just because they defended themselves and they live in that area that was one of the first areas where the Syrian government has entered. My in-laws, who are actually suffering the most now because they are both cancer patients and they have no access to medicine, no access to chemo since 2 weeks right now. There is my husband's grandmother, who is a Alzheimer patient with no medicine, with no healthcare, nothing. There is a few newborns in my cousins' families who are lacking food, formula, diapers, basic supplies. If this keeps happening for another week, I don't know if these people will still be alive.
And what's the situation with you and your relatives or friends, Jamil? Have you been in touch with them in the last few days, last week?
Yes, I was in touch today in the morning, but similar to what Tin just pointed, they send me message on WhatsApp. It's not possible to communicate directly. It's getting harder by the day. Like currently, my family have a couple of cars in Sweida, but they are walking on foot because no fuel, no gasoline for the cars. They start to run almost from all necessities. We hope things will improve soon. If it doesn't improve, it's going to be very serious.
You're saying they're walking. Are they trying to get to another humanitarian corridor and escape to elsewhere inside Syria as a displaced person? Or are they trying to get out to, let's say, Jordan or somewhere?
People from Sweida have no corridors, no humanitarian corridors. People from Sweida have no option to leave. People from Sweida stuck where they are. So there isn't at the moment hope. And I'm not trying to depict a bleak picture. This is actually the picture. You don't hear the sound of tanks, AK-47s, and automatic gun machine. Today, you see the sound of economic warfare. Sweida under a complete economic besiege. It's not framed that way, don't get me wrong, but the fact of the matter is that non-ethnic minorities, non-Druze, may have the ability to leave Sweida, but for the rest of the population, they are stuck inside. But people are in desperate need of all necessities. They need water. Some houses have not touched any food and vegetables from the beginning of the crisis. Some have kids, they need milk, so people walk around, try to find these issues. The community come together very strongly. Neighbors help neighbors, but it's a struggle.
Who's preventing them from moving from that area?
So, to the best of my knowledge, based on the experience of a few of my friends, if you are Christian and you have documentation to prove it, they might allow you to leave Sweida. For the Bedouins, definitely they are allowed to leave the Sweida, and some of them left voluntarily. But to the best of my knowledge, if you are from the Druze community, you are not. And I have a few of my relatives live in Germany, for example. They are German citizens. They have jobs. I have relatives have jobs in the United States, in United Arab Emirates. They've been visiting. All of them stuck in Sweida until today.
Could you explain what you would like Canadian politicians to do besides tweet and say, because that's so far all they've done?
We are aware that this saga has been going for almost 15 years. So there is a case of fatigue, media fatigue. People feel sick and tired of watching this and following this. But believe you me, this is the only mini ethnic cleansing campaign that has been going on camera, on live videos. Pretty much the overwhelming majority of massacres documented. And yet, we really see very little attention from international governments and organizations. We are not asking for anything much. We're just asking the Canadian government to live to its standard and do its best to brush off the current interim government to adhere to international norms. You cannot look the other way when innocent people are killed. We're simply asking the Canadian government to use diplomatic tools to make sure the Syrian interim government walks the walk, not talk the talk. Because make no mistake, this current interim government has a fantastic propaganda machine. They are really good on talking, but there is a complete divorce between what they say and what they do. I am not interested in people wearing a tie and nice suit and then they send their own army to kill innocent civilians. We are simply asking for the killing to stop. We are asking for the besiege to be lifted so women, children, elderly, unarmed civilian live their normal life, get their basic needs. Is this too much to ask Canada? None of us in the Druze community, none, is interested in causing any further damage to the already exhausted population. And it would be very dangerous for our community, the Druze community in Sweida, if this crisis perceived as if because of what the Syrian interim government did against our community, the international community reimposed sanctions. Because there is a huge, sophisticated, and lethally effective hate campaign based on ideology to demonize the Druze community, accusing them of helping the so-called Jews, accusing them of trying to divide Syria, which making things even more complicated.
Israel bombed Syria. They said we have to protect our Druze relatives, our Druze friends, and also make sure no bad things happen on the border because Israel has troops there too. How do you feel about Israel's intervention? Because that's kind of a controversial thing. Hen, do you want to go first?
That's the problem, Ellen. So the thing is that no true Syrian citizen would love to ask for help from anybody else outside Syria, not just Israel, if we do have it from our own brothers in Damascus. So they have pushed us so hard to this option. They left us no way. They left us absolutely no way but to ask Israel for help. And I find this legit. It's controversial, yes, but what else can we do? What else can we do? Like, would we just let you come in and kill us and just, watch you doing that? So it's not about dividing Syria, and that's what they don't understand. That's what the government is actually trying to twist the facts really hard. If we call for federalism or let's say provinces that are separated from each other, it's exactly like Canada, which like ruled by federalism. That's not called dividing Syria. No, Syria is combined. It's like a mosaic, beautiful painting.
We have Alberta. They want to separate. So you don't bomb them.
We only asked for federalism, for a civil state, for protection for human rights, and we have seen nothing. We didn't even see a true negotiation. We didn't even see a clear communication. All what we have seen was violence. Exactly like how Dr. Jamil said, they are actually wearing suits and going on the media pretending to be nice and diplomatic. But if you notice, Ahmed al-Shara, since the regime toppled, he never even mentioned the word democracy in his speech because he doesn't believe in democracy. He believes in Sharia, which is the Islamic law. So he is absolutely planning another Holocaust against minorities, but he's trying to make it look beautiful. So we know it, and we want other people to know it. They left us no option. We will definitely ask for help from loyal friends because we have lost trusts with Damascus.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
You saw that Israel airdropped, we don't have to get into the whole Israel-Gaza situation, but Israel airdropped hundreds of meals into Gaza. Do you think Israel should be doing the same thing, dropping food into Sweida? What do you guys, Jamil, what do you think?
I think we need a sustainable, viable solution to this ongoing crisis. Currently, dropping aid by air is the only available option. However, it is a drop of the ocean. It does not matter how hard you tried. You are talking about an entire city. Now, part of my work is hate speech, counterterrorism, and digital intermediaries. I have been working with this for 15 years. I have seen exactly what the Islamic State or ISIS did in the past. We have the videos. I know what Jabhat al-Nusra did. But the fact of the matter, what happened recently in Sweden was even much more shocking. Why is that? Because what happened was a quite systematic alienation of the entire place.
Yes.
The number of villages completely looted and burned is mind-boggling. We are talking, give and take, about 35 villages in the region of 8,000 to 10,000 houses burned to the ground. Pretty much in every single place they enter, they destroyed the economy. And just today in the morning, I got some information that up till this moment, interim government forces, with the help of Bedouin, currently looting the area between Kanakir and Al-Mazra'a, which does have a huge advanced farms by the Druze community. They are looting the solar systems. It's millions of dollars. So when we talk about aid and food and drink, we need to be minded of this fact that first, we are talking about a level of destruction at the micro level that has never seen before. We are talking about a huge scale that a dropping aids by airplane is not going to cut it. So we need for the economic siege to be lifted. There were a few attempts in other Druze communities in Germania to send. They allowed two very small consignment. They sent bread, but the government refused to allow the bread one. A week from now, in this searing heat, if this very unfair and brutal economic siege is not lifted, we might see starvation cases in Sweida.
It struck me the pictures of the sheikh who had their beards and mustaches shaved. Jews know what that means. What does that mean when you see these pictures coming out?
It hurts. It hurts a lot because I just would imagine that this is my grandparent. I would imagine that this is my in-law. The most hurtful fact, Ellen, is that those who did this, we were considering them brothers. We were considering them our partners in building this country again after 14 years of destruction. Poverty, ugly chemical weapons that dropped everywhere. This is not the post-Assad era that we are dreaming of. They are actually aware, very aware of the culture of Sweida people, that shaving mustache is a powerful way to humiliate an elderly person. They came in with razors because they know that they will be taping this and they will be posting this proudly on social media. That is what hurts the most. And literally our hearts are broken. It's undescribable. The videos are disgusting. Dropping people off the window or off the balcony, saying Allahu Akbar on them. It's behind our comprehension.
I mean, I see the world condemning Israel, sanctioning Israel. They bring in flotillas of humanitarian workers trying to get into Gaza. Why isn't anyone doing this for you guys?
It's not only that the Syrian interim government turned a blind eye and is not saying. There's something even more darker here. Happening here in Canada. We have people here in Canada went on live video as well, stating their real name, and they support and encourage violence against the Druze community, glamorizing terrorism. This needs to end here. Now we are not only struggling with the Syrian interim government back home in Syria. We are struggling with the Canadian government, and that is extremely dangerous. I mean, haven't we suffered enough, all of us? If we allow this violence to sneak into our home here, we have no other place to go. We have moved enough so many different times now that I really can't think where to go. So we have a lot of work. This must end, and it must end now. This is an avoidable massacre. The interim government could have debated, could have discussed ideas, debated with ideas. We should not settle our score using guns.
I'm honored to speak to you on the Canadian Jewish News North Star podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan.
And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of North Star, made possible thanks to the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Gronowski-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. While Canada still considers the rebel group, which the new Syrian president once ran, a banned terrorist organization, nevertheless, our country has eased economic sanctions on Syria, pledged $100 million in aid, named a special envoy, and told the Canadian ambassador in Lebanon to start supervising diplomacy with Syria too. Global Affairs Canada told us the government is concerned about the ongoing restriction of humanitarian workers getting into the Sweida area. You can learn more about the Toronto Druze organization's fundraising efforts. We put the link in our show notes. North Star is produced by Zachary Judah Kaufman and Andrea Varsany. The executive producer is Michael Freeman, and the music is by Brett Higgins. Thanks for listening.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments, Auschwitz, Not Long Ago, Not Far Away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.